Yay, welcome everybody. We think we got most of you in. So welcome to our Flex Day presentation. Happy you're all here. I have no idea, there's 46 of us so far. So great that you all made it here at the end of the day on your Flex Day. Happy to see all your faces. We have our interpreters with us today who are going to be taking turns. So you'll see them highlighted on the panel at the side as well. And we have our facilitators with us today. I don't know if Kaylon or Susie were going to say anything to get started.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kaylon McCabe, and Susie Nitzel and I will be facilitating with your group today. The session you're in is Guided Pathways, It Takes a Village, with presenters Julie Preston Smith, Lydia Anderson, Jennifer McKenzie, Lori Swain, and Tim Woods. A couple of housekeeping rules. Please keep yourself muted unless you're speaking. And one of the things too that the presenters have said is that if you've got questions, please put them in the chat. If you have a question that's relevant to whatever they're actually discussing at a moment in time, please wait for a pause. They will also have some questions, but if you put your question in the chat, we will take those down, and then the presenters will be able to see those as well. Also, at the end, we will be giving 10 and 5-minute warnings to the panelists. And at the end in the chat, there will be a link for you as a reminder to please answer the survey about this specific session today. Thanks very much and enjoy the session.
Thank you, Kaylon, and thank you to Stephen, our interpreter for now. I'm glad everyone's here today. I am Julie Preston Smith, and I am the Interim Director of Counseling and Special Projects right now. Worked a lot with Guided Pathways and our Pathway teams. And I'm very happy that we have some Pathway team members that are going to talk to us today about what they're doing individually to help student success and how they can help case manage our students at the college. So we do have a little bit of an overview. This is kind of our agenda for what we'll be doing. We'll do a little bit of an overview and background of what's going on the campus and in the business division and Pathway. And then we do have specific questions that we want to ask the panelists, and they will respond, hopefully, and give us some of their insights and feedback. And then we do hope that they will have room for questions at the end. And like Kaylon had said, if there's something urgent that comes up that's really relevant to what's going on, you can either raise your hand or see if you can unmute and we can address things. But if not, we do have some questions for all the participants at the end that we'd like you to help participate with, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. So thank you very much. I think we'll first start off, we have a poll for you. I don't know if you've been doing them all day long, but we do want to get a poll of really who's in the room with us today and what your role is on campus, kind of what areas you work in. So if you'll take a minute or so and answer that poll. There is 3 different questions, but we would love to have all the responses going on so we can kind of get a feel for everybody. I'm always happy to see that it's working. Thank you to the team of support people. We'll give it a few more seconds for everyone to participate. Getting close. I don't have a song to sing for you all, so we've got 37 out of 47. Give it another second or two. Okay, so you're all seeing the same poll results that I think I'm seeing as well. It looks like we do have 73% of our participants are from instructional faculty side. Tim didn't answer, but I know he's our administrator that's here, and I didn't either, I guess. I forget that I'm administrator right now. We do have 14% classified, and then another 14% that are non-instructional. So it's good to know. I'm glad we have a variety of folks in the room, heavily on the instructional side, but that should be what happens on Flex Day. What areas are you working with? So the divisions are kind of dispersed out, which is really fun to see. Yes, a few student services folks. Been nice to have representation from almost all the different divisions we've got. And then if they're involved on pathway teams, not as much. Some culture, education, and society folks are in here today. Give them a shout out. But most of the folks really aren't participating in a pathway team. So great, that's good to know, because we're hoping you're interested in being involved with kind of case managing and helping student success from instructional and non-instructional points of view. So good to know. We will try to maybe direct our questions and topics to knowing that a lot of you aren't involved in the pathway teams. But if you have questions, let us know. We'll be a little bit broad in the overview. It's not real specific, but then we can get down and dirty with some of the questions for the panelists. Okay, I was going to just do a little bit of a background on what we're doing on the campus and what's happening with guided pathways and the pathway teams. So most of you have heard about guided pathways, hopefully even after today, but it's the movement to streamline a student's journey through college. And our focus really is on getting students to complete and closing our equity gaps. So we are organizing structured choices for students, really revamping the supports we can give them, and really focusing on improving learning for them to get them through their courses that they need to get through. All of these goals that we have are aligned with the Vision for Success goals, which is what we're being held accountable to now at the state chancellor's level. So guided pathways is the movement of how we're going to try to do that at Fresno City. I don't know how to make it move any quicker. So RAM pathways is what we're calling our clustering of groups on our campus. So it's just one component of the guided pathways efforts. So guided pathways is the big movement structural changes that we're trying to do, but the RAM pathways is just one of them. And basically RAM pathways are a grouping of related programs. Usually they have similar courses, student interest could be the same, and career opportunities would be similar, hopefully. And each of our RAM pathways teams has dedicated people to help the students navigate their college. And at Fresno City, we have those 5 RAM pathways you can see across the bottom of your screen. The pathway teams are, originally we designed them to case manage students and then really help collaborate and communicate between the instructional and student services sides of our campus. And pretty much the main reason is the students are in the classrooms. That's where they are on a regular basis, we hope. And we really can't do any kind of case management, student support without really getting to them in their classes, if at all possible. So our objectives are to improve student completion rates so we can really be strategic at trying to get to the students at their key benchmarks. We want to close our equity gaps by really figuring out which students need more support and more services to get them through. And then we're looking at how to help them decrease the time to completion and lessen the number of excess units they can have by doing program maps and helping them with educational planning. This year, we really focused on 3 goals. We're trying to help students complete the transfer level math and English. That's being directed to us, knowing that's one of the highest student success factors that we can possibly have at the community college level. We're focusing on helping men of color to retain in school and persist, especially from fall to spring. We lose a lot of our students from fall to spring semester. So looking at how we can reach out and support them there. And then of course, we want to complete the associate degrees as much as we possibly can. And before, the biggest difference I would say is before we would divide up the entire campus and say, go get them, everybody, deal with everybody in all your classes. And now we're really realizing that some students need more help. That's what equity is about. It's not giving everybody everything equally. It's about really figuring out which students need more support and more interventions and different touch points across their journey. So trying to be more intentional. Our teams have different people with different roles, and everybody has a role. And I think eventually everybody on the campus will belong to a pathway team and have a responsibility, hopefully, to helping the students succeed within their pathway. We currently have student services administrators on each team, an instructional dean, The team lead is the one that kind of coordinates the team getting together and getting trained. The counselors, the counseling person to kind of make sure that the counseling role is fulfilled. We have an intervention person, which is the person who helps with everybody, the instructors and the counselors, with early alert and with students who are on probation. The instructors, like I said before, are the ones who really work with the students a lot because they are in the classes helping the students learn and helping them get their learning resources. And then we have a lot of special services people on the campus like CalWORKS and EOP&S and financial aid and admissions and records and tutorial services. And all of those folks are participating in teams and really trying to be a resource for the team members and the students in those areas. So good background. If there's questions specifically on that, let me know. If not, I'm gonna move along with our group today because we do have the 4 panelists that want to share what they've been doing. And the team here is part of the business pathway. They're all tied also to the business division, which is pretty similar from the pathway to the division, but not exactly the same. And we have Lydia Anderson, who's representing the instructional side of the house because she's one of our instructors in business and marketing. Jennifer McKenzie is our administrative aide in the business division and is very key in talking to students, reaching students, and helping us track down students. Laurie Swain is one of our business counselors, and Tim Woods is our instructional dean over the business division. So there's their phone numbers, not phone numbers, there's those emails. We are going to share the PowerPoint later and it will be posted. So if you can't remember who people are, you haven't met them before, you can get it later or take a picture of the screen if that helps you at all. All right, so with that in mind, is there anything I should have been paying attention to in the chat? Has anyone noticed anything? Everyone's just saying hello. Good to see you all. Great. Okay, I'm gonna move along and I'm gonna start with some questions for our panelists. And I'm gonna stop the sharing just because we can see everybody a little bit better. And all it's gonna be on the screen is just our notes for what we're talking to the panelists about. But the first question is basically, I'm gonna have you folks just say hello. They can see who your names are, but introduce yourself if you want. But what is your role in supporting the team to help students reach their goal? And I don't know which one would like to go first. Do you guys want me to go in an order or does someone want to unmute? Tim's unmuting first. I guess he wins.
That was the intent. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. It's fantastic to see such a large group and yeah, at the end of a very long and rich day. So, and I'm just happy to participate with our team. And so you asked what is our role? What is my role and our role? Well, for me as the administrator, it really comes down to 3 key things: commitment, communication, and training. And so when under commitment, what we work in the division, whenever you hear us talk about team, we're not talking about faculty, we're not talking about admin, we're not talking about staff, we're talking about team. And so the division is the team. And so we try to break those walls of putting in containers. And so what our real goal is to create a team culture of inquiry, where we all genuinely believe that change starts with us. And so, part of that is, Disney Institute teaches a principle known as passionately curious. And so the team is passionately curious about, staff are asking faculty, what are the program nuances? Faculty are asking staff, how do I get this done? And so it's a real fluid interaction. And, and part of it is each of us knowing our roles, so are we relentlessly focused on student end goals? How do we support students? How do I support students? How do I support the campus community and other divisions? How do I help each other? And then, my personal commitment as a dean then is all of our planning, resources, projects, grants are really focused in enhancing guided pathways. And so from communication standpoint, we have weekly staff meetings And so I bring from the Guided Pathways Committee, the documents from the Guided Pathways, we talk about it, classified professionals interact, we bring faculty in, we discuss. We have faculty staff interaction where staff are constantly talking to faculty, getting program knowledge. We develop FAQs for programs so that as we're fielding calls, which we get a lot, classified professionals, our group, our team really knows how to triage students' needs, and the faculty, they really go to our classified professionals because, this team has a wealth of knowledge and knowing how to navigate our processes and systems. And, same with student staff interaction. And then the final point is really encouraging people about training, embracing state, regional, campus training. Whenever the State Academic Senate sends out training about guided pathways, I encourage the entire team to participate and provide opportunities. So I know that's a bit long-winded, but so really my part comes down to commitment, communication, and training.
Thank you, Tim. And I think even though we don't have other deans that are trying to figure this out for them, I think it's helpful to see what that role is vital and how that can support the rest of the team. All right, Lori, are you ready to go? Lori is our counselor.
I am ready.
Go ahead, and what is your role supporting the team and how to help students succeed?
Perfect. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. I'm going to apologize if you can hear snoring. That's my dog under the desk. Hopefully the AirPods will mute her out. But again, welcome. Thanks again so much for coming. My role on the team is I'm the team lead. And so what I do is I facilitate monthly meetings, which include faculty and counselors, administrative aides, our deans, our directors, our admin aides, everyone. And then I helped to organize events. So when we were on campus, we had welcome events, and then we had registration events. And then when we moved virtually, we had to figure out how to offer those same type of events online. And so just kind of organizing, planning, and then everybody kind of helps with them. I just kind of take the role to make sure that things are getting done. And then we also facilitate counseling training. So we used to have 5 departments in the when we were the student success teams, and now that we're Guided Pathways, we have 4. So we have the 4 department chairs come into separate meetings and they do trainings so that our counselors can know what our faculty want us to know about that specific major. So our faculty are really the experts. And so they are the ones that can tell us this class is better to take before this class, or they should not take these 2 classes together. Any like nuances within that major or that certificate, they let us know. So that way we can advise our students the best way possible to help them be the most successful. And then we take kind of like a cohort case management approach to some of our students that could really use the most support. Like Julie was saying, trying to figure out what students would benefit from getting that extra support. So most of our students, the full-time counselors have 25, our adjuncts have 12 to 13, and they're mostly male student of color. They're usually at a financial disadvantage. They're flagged in the system as having barriers kind of. And so what we do is we take those students on and we make sure that they get registered. We follow up with them to make sure that they're not having any issues, make sure their probation holds are cleared. And so we kind of take them for the year and they're kind of like our students, and we kind of follow up with them to make sure that they're progressing and doing okay and don't need anything. And so again, just trying to give that extra support. And then I would say my main thing that I do on the team is that I help with communication. So I'm kind of in a unique role because I was a division counselor before I was a pathway counselor. So I have really great relationships with all the faculty in the division. My office is in the division. I have all of the, cell phone numbers of all of our department chairs. And so sometimes a counselor will text me or email me and say, hey, I have this question about this one class or this course sub or something random. And I can text the department chair and be like, hey, this class hasn't been offered in 2 years. What's the deal with this? Or can you tell me about this random situation, And then the department faculty can tell me what's happening, and then I can kind of relay that to our counselor. And so just kind of being that middle person between the counseling and the faculty as our counselors and our faculty develop those relationships together, now that we're all kind of doing the pathways, and those relationships are forming. But right now, just kind of being that middle person for communication, I think that's one of the key roles that I play.
Make
I
that
can
noise.
go. I can go
Yeah, go
next.
ahead. Mine got noisy at my house too. So Lydia, go ahead and take it. Thank you.
First of all, thank you everybody for joining us. And Bill Walker posted a comment that said Lori's a great asset to the business division, and a couple other people have seconded that, and I third it. I don't think that our division would be where we are in regard to guided pathways if we didn't have Lori. Because she's kind of the one that brought me into and introduced me to guided pathways. And I think she drug me up 99 to Sacramento for a weekend to learn more about it and see how it all fit together. The business division is like all other faculty, we're focused on student success. And we can only do that if we communicate, and if we communicate with our students and communicate with everybody that we work outside of the classroom with. And Lori's kind of been the glue in keeping us focused as to how we can make the process clear to understand for our students and also efficient, because before it wasn't efficient. And communication is just really key. And I think when we first started doing this, the biggest headache for us was going through our transfer degree, and not only trying to figure out what courses we're going to fit in and not fit in, and the unit count and all the other drama that goes with that, but also backing into it and looking at the sequence of what classes needed to happen when. And that's where we started pulling data and looking at, accounting 4A or business law. Those are the tougher courses, whereas CIT or intro to business, which we have a gateway class. And I'm assuming all of you faculty members with your programs, there's one course that's the gateway course. That's where you're going to really talk to students and identify what they understand or don't understand about what they're getting into. Because even if a student says I'm majoring in marketing, there's 50 different directions they can go outside of business. So communication and collaboration are the key. And I think the nucleus of all of that starts with our counselor or our pathway person or whatever we're calling you these days. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. I see a trend of communication and collaboration among everybody, and it's hard. It's hard to do virtually. So I don't know how we were doing it virtually, because it was hard to do it when we weren't remote.
I want to add one more statement before Jennifer goes, and that's ensuring that we get feedback from our adjunct. Bill is a big voice, and we've got a lot of adjunct, and all of the faculty members are closest to the student. So we know what students are going through, what walls they're hitting, what successes, what's easy for them and what's not. And don't ignore your adjunct. They're real gems to the division and to the whole pathway experience.
Thank you, Lydia. Jennifer, go ahead, take it over.
Hello, my name is Jennifer McKenzie. I am one of the newest members of the business division team. I am really excited about being in this role. I think this role is cultured through what Tim has presented for the team. So it is something that has been established prior to me arriving, where everybody works with everybody. We all understand each other's role in the process, and there is transparency in what we do to help to ensure a student succeeds. Like Lydia said, we have an opportunity to I have the opportunity to assist students. I work with ADT students, Accelerated Degree for Transfer, and a few of our small certificate programs. I have the opportunity to talk to them. I have an opportunity to reach out and talk to those students, like Bill has mentioned previously, that are alone, not sure what to do with being online, and being able to talk to a student earlier this week and show her how to get back online, how to get through WebAdvisor and Canvas for those returning students. We also have faculty that reaches out to us at the main office and says, hey, this student may need some help, as well as using Starfish that they've been using. And we reach out and connect with others. Carrie is another big resource that I turn to, as well as Lori, which is another primary resource for us and Tim. So pretty much I kind of am in the front office and I work with students with our programs.
Thank you, Jennifer. A vital role, because you do have a lot of student contact and you're the one that the students will usually get to when they have technical issues, paper issues, problems with anything, or they can't find the right person. So you are a vital person to the group and vital to the team as
Julie,
well.
I am very fortunate that it's not just me at the front office. It's also Carrie and Joyce and Fran. So, I mean, and it takes us all to do it.
Good. It takes a village. Good plug there. That was awesome. Okay. All right, the next questions. Thank you, panelists. Thanks for introducing yourself and giving us your role. That gives us a good perspective of what everybody's going to contribute, hopefully, to today. And the next question is, and you kind of covered this a little bit, some of you already, how did you get involved with Guided Pathways? And we know that Lydia was dragged into it by somebody else, but how did you get involved with Guided Pathways? And how do you think the Guided Pathways fit into the equity work that you're trying to do? You don't have to go in the same order. It depends who's ready to go.
I'll go
Lori.
first.
Yeah.
It was kind of just a natural fit for me. Again, because I was a division counselor, I was kind of already placed with one of the pathways. And so I became a team lead and just kind of took over that role and just kind of started processing through. But it's also, the pathways are what we do as counselors, right? We want to help our students succeed. And how do we do that? Pathways is just one of the tools. So it just kind of was a natural fit for me. And so I've loved having the extra resources and really being put into a position where we can use faculty and use our admin aides and really come together and work together to help our students versus being all by ourselves trying to do things all on our own. So again, it was kind of a natural fit for me, but I love the team that we have.
I can go next, just talking about how the pathways fit with the topic of equity. Anybody that's gone through the Q training or the CORA training or any kind of equity training, a lot of students are afraid to go to a counselor, or a lot of students don't have the time or the knowledge or access to know how to contact a counselor, or how to get in contact with a counselor. Our counselor is available all the time. But it really started putting together the topic of equity and ensuring that our students are aware of all of their options and how they can efficiently get through a program or transfer or do whatever it is they want to do with their academic goals if we have a clear pathway. And I think that's really important, because even in conversations I've had with faculty, you know, they're talking about, oh, I'm hiring a tutor for my child, or, oh, I've got an outside counselor helping them transfer or do this or that. Well, a lot of our students just don't have those privileges. And Guided Pathways is a nice way to remind us of making sure that all students can get through their academic goals efficiently. And it's not only just take this class in this sequence, it's recognizing the resources that are available to help our students with all those outside barriers or issues that they have to take care of. So it's taking care of the whole student.
There are a lot of times that we receive calls about needing assistance, be it for computers or just which classes, and being able to realize what those resources are for us is very helpful when it comes down to it, and they want to find out exactly how to get it done. We send them to Lori. Lori is the one that introduced me to Guided Pathways by asking of me to take notes for the team, for the Guided Pathways team, which was a different team before. I can't remember what it was. Student Success Team. There you go. And so as soon as we all went into remote working, I went into Vision Resource Center and just started looking up everything Guided Pathways, because I just thought, wow, this is really amazing. And so I've just dove right in, and it kind of coincides with my personality of wanting to help and ensuring that everybody succeeds.
Yeah, matter of fact, just to echo what the group has talked about, is looking at, in career technical education, many of you may remember concepts like career ladders. There's initiatives like from one of my favorites, Cradle to Career, from birth to paycheck, so the pathway concept was really entrenched in me personally. And then, but what was really neat about Guided Pathways is, Guided Pathways it immediately struck me as that this is not additional work. This is the foundation of our work, and what was really interesting about it is it provided a methodology that we could replicate. And, I'm sure many of you have gone to the trainings where you've heard about the 4 pillars and things like that. And so we started with, clarifying the path for students. And, we have a buzz phrase that we talk about at every meeting. If we don't understand it, they're not going to understand it. And, part of it is what we look for is like institutional speak. We look at our brochures, we look at our FAQs, we look at and we want to make sure that we're not using catalog speak, but we're addressing students' questions from a framework they understand and can connect with. So everything we do is on these 4 pillars: clarifying the path, getting them on the right path, so when staff are talking, they've got these FAQs, and then what they're doing is a warm handoff. And so they go, oh, okay, I know, now that I know your needs, let me put you in connection with this person. And then they go the extra distance. Not only did they just transfer the call, they actually call the other person and say, hey, by the way, this is an old customer service technique. I mean, if you want to Google it, you can look up Ritz-Carlton customer service. And Disney, a personal example, my wife and I, we had our 5-year-old son at Disney who's hyper allergic to nuts. And so unbeknownst to us, he got some. It, was going into a full-on attack. And so there was a young lady, picking up trash, and in a panic, I asked her, I said, our son's having an allergy attack. Where do we go? You know what she did? She dropped everything that she was doing and walked us over to the med center, which is in Main Street. I didn't even know it was there. And said, okay, you're taken care of. She explained it was that warm handoff. And that is the kind of what we try to replicate in the division, is anticipating student needs. Okay, here's the person you need to go to. We don't want to send them to 3 or 4 different people until they finally get an answer. And then all of our collective work is, how can we help you stay on the path, and how can we ensure that you're learning what you need to be in the career.
Thank you. I think you should all just drop in the chat if any of you know where the Med Center is at Disneyland, because when he said that, several people went, yeah, I think I've had to use it before. So if you know what he's talking about, go ahead and give him a thumbs up in your chat, and we'll know that you related to everybody today. Okay, next question for the group. How does Guided Pathways fit into curriculum review and program review? And this part kind of gets at more of our institutional procedures I don't want to call them barriers to students, but barriers for instructors and faculty, even being able to move the things forward that they want to do. So there's a lot of restructuring, a lot of ideas, a lot of things that we can do in-house that will help us succeed with students on their side. So what are your thoughts on how Guided Pathways and your teamwork can fit into curriculum review and program review?
Well, I'll go first because we just finished program review, our department, and we're in curriculum review this semester. And they're both such wonderful experiences. How does Guided Pathways fit into curriculum program review? Our job is to help our students reach their academic goal. Realistically, it's to help them get employed. So the first thing we need to do is back up and look at where are the jobs, where is employment, and are we teaching what is going to help our students be successful in the workplace or start their own successful business? Are we giving them the realistic tools to succeed? I may love teaching how to make Christmas ornaments, but if there's no future that's going to help my students be successful, then maybe I need to reevaluate if I need to teach a class on making Christmas ornaments. So sometimes those are painful discussions. The other part of it is looking across the campus and across your division into other departments, and where is there overlap, where is there not? Because there is a lot of overlap, not only on our campus, but within the district. And those are some tough discussions that we need to have. The other thing was Diane DeFreitas and I were having a discussion because she's our curriculum chair. I don't know if she's here or not, but she was like, you guys have way too many programs, and why do you need all of these programs? And we really started sifting through, looking at, do we really need this certificate? We call them certificates of nothing, but they are job skills certificates. And most of them we kept, but there were a few that we deleted. There's going to be a degree that we're deleting. But those are some tough conversations because as faculty members, we're like, hey, that's my load. This is going to be a new prep for me. I want to retire in 2 years. All these different realistic conversations that occur. But you have to go back to the students. Do they really need to take this class? Is this class really going to help them be successful? And sometimes we get selfish in what we teach and why we teach instead of what's in the best interest of the students. So sometimes not a fun process, sometimes it is, but you also need to look across different departments and different divisions and programs and see how you can collaborate and maybe have some classes taught in different areas, and don't be so territorial about things.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate that I think that's one of the best things that we've had happen with the teams and Guided Pathways is we've really had to talk to each other across our divisions and our programs. And I know that's big ideas for curriculum and program review of looking at the whole picture, the holistic student approach versus just my classes and my program. So thank you, Lydia. Lori, you ready to chime in?
Yeah, I think that how I help with program review, it's been really helpful that I was on curriculum. So I kind of understand a little bit of like the background now, more so than I did before I was on curriculum. But just talking to the departments and the faculty and asking like what the relevance of the class is. Again, is this leading to a skill that's going to help the student get a job? Or is this just a busy work class? If it's a busy work class, let's take it out because that's just a barrier for our students. And then also talking about when the classes are offered and when they were last offered. So one of the things I love about our accounting department is we have a lot of different electives. There's like 5 different electives and the students have to choose, or we have 6, and they have to choose 3 of the 6. Every elective is either offered like every other semester, so fall only, spring only. And then our major classes too, like our cost accounting, intermediate accounting, every other semester it's offered in the evening and then in the daytime. So when I'm advising a student, I can tell them, if you want to be a day student, this is the semester you need to take intermediate. This is the semester you need to take cost. This is the elective that you're going to need to take this semester. So that really helps talking to the department and like knowing what the plan is so that we can really help the student be, fit their schedule. If they want to take all evening classes, they can. If they want to take all day classes, they can. But that doesn't mean that we have a day and an evening every semester for each of those classes. They alternate, so they switch every semester. So that's kind of one of the things that I really like about having that communication and just having that knowledge to be able to share with the students. The other thing that is very helpful is we did major mapping. So I met with the departments and the faculty, and we kind of figured out what classes students should start with and what classes they should end with. And some of the majors, the faculty were like, well, no, I don't want them taking the internship until they take this. And I don't want them taking this until they take this. And I was like, okay, so you want this certificate to be, a year and a half or 2 years long? And it's like, no. It's only, it's only 30 units, or it's only, 26 units. It should be done in a year. And it's like, okay, well, which class needs to go first and which one needs to go second? Because like how they're lined up, that's not fitting in a year. So kind of taking a step back and looking at it and being like, oh yeah, that isn't going to work, unless they're going to go part-time and spread it out longer. So kind of having those discussions and figuring out which is the best plan for the students to start with and which ones can be put till last, which ones aren't essential before they get into that internship. So that was really helpful. And then also the advisory committees and like figuring out why classes are needed. And so there is like our paralegal program. I've talked to Peter about this. And there's some classes where I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, let's get rid of this. I don't like this class. The students don't like this class or whatever. And he's like, I kind of agree, but the advisory committee told me this is a skill they want to see, and this is a skill they like to see in their graduates. We have to keep this class in there. And it's like, okay. So then when I see the students and they're complaining about the class, it's like, no, I know that you think that you don't need this class, but this is something that your future lawyers that employ you are going to want to have. So it's really important that you get the certificate, that you get this skill done. And so just kind of knowing that and being able to tell the student that, I think that it's more beneficial than just being like, you have to have it because we say so. It's like, no, we've talked to 10 different law agencies or law offices within Fresno, and they all 9 out of 10 want this skill. So this is a skill that you really want to make sure you have down and you have on your resume, and then we give you a certificate to show that you've completed it. And so having that information again to share with the students is beneficial.
Thank you, Lori. I really appreciate the whole student perspective approach of how a student would actually journey through the program, and whatever we think might work for the order doesn't always work by the way students are taking classes and combining all their general ed with their major and that kind of stuff. So good perspective on that one. Tim?
Yeah, I was just going to.
Wait, hold on, Tim, before you go, there's a question Steve has. What happens when students hop from campus to campus to find a class they need within the district? Who advises them? I guess it would be for
Take that.
Lori.
I actually advised a student yesterday who had taken a lot of classes at Clovis, and she's like, my counselor told me to take BA 39. And I was like, okay, that's finite math at Clovis. That's the same as our DS 21. So then I have to kind of explain to them, there are different numbers for different campuses. And we can advise students to take classes at different campuses. Like if the student's like, I want to get your degree, but I want to take this class at Clovis, we can tell them, okay, this is the number that it is at Clovis. Clovis counselors can advise our students as well. We just have to be careful that the students have residency within the college that they're taking the class. So we make sure that that's very clear to the student, that they need the 12 units from the college that they're going to graduate from. And I always tell my students, don't take a class at another campus if it's the same number on your SEP without emailing me. So like if you can't find this class at our college and you find out from a friend that they have this class at another college, email me and I'll just double check to make sure that class is okay. Because there are some classes that don't count the same way that they would at our college. And that goes for the same at their college. So I just kind of warn the student, follow the student educational plan for the college that you've chosen. And you're more than welcome to take classes from other campuses if you can't find them at ours, but just double check with a counselor, or you just have them email me to make sure that that class is going to count before they register, before they actually start taking the class.
I don't want to interrupt before Tim goes. It's really important for faculty on your Canvas, on your syllabus, somewhere to make sure the students know how to access your pathway counselor. Just for this reason, because they ask me about sequencing, I'll tell them what I know, but I'll send them to Lori with the questions that that was just asked by Stephen, because it's a realistic question. And a lot of students are unaware that they have this counselor. So for each of your areas, somewhere I have a welcome module right up front on my Canvas, and the first link is to our counselor, so that if they have any questions at all, they go directly to that person and they just click the link and they're there. But I can't stress that enough, because that does happen a lot. So thank you, Stephen, for that question.
Thank you. And I think I'll just reiterate, because I can jump in, that I think one thing that might happen with all of the strategizing in curriculum and even program review is I think we'll realize that when we're not aligned as a district, it does hurt the students, and not every student can make sense of our convoluted system we have between the different colleges. So, you know, students do hop around, and they're hopping around a lot right now because everything's online and they're going to go where the class is. But we do have courses that have similar numbers that don't count for the same thing, or the same course, but it's got a different number. And we probably should never have gone there in the first place, but that's how we developed 100 years ago. And there's a lot of like having to fix things that are complicated to fix when we've done it a certain way, and we like our curriculum a certain way, but it doesn't always make sense to the student when they are hopping around. So I know that's going to be a big issue for all of us probably when we do work more with curriculum and program review changes that we're trying to do with guided pathways. All right, was Tim trying to talk, or was Jennifer?
No, I didn't want to interrupt this. This was a great question and discussion, because it's the actual way that it's done. You know, program review is what's important about that is we really try to make it more than just a check mark. You know, that it's actually a planning document that, you know, in looking at the program reviews, because of the work of Lydia and the faculty and the adjuncts and the students, you know, what we do is we look at our programs and we look at, are they meeting the students' needs? Are they current? Are they, you know, is this discipline? You know, I love what Lydia said is, you know, these are courageous conversations. And it's never, at least we try not to do these conversations from a deficit mentality. It's like, well, this is wrong, this is wrong. We do it like, well, what is needed? What is needed? And, you know, the retail management program, the cybersecurity program, the bookkeeping fundamentals program, the one-person office program, all of those have come from this kind of dynamic interaction of student voice, faculty voice, staff voice, leading to meeting students' needs.
I'm not involved with curriculum or program review. However, I do reap the benefits of all of it because, again, with the transparency, I get to hear what Lydia comes back with. I get to hear Lori's take on it. So when it comes to finding, having a question from a student, I can say, hey, you know what, I think I know what that answer is, but you're going to want to talk to either your instructor or our counselor, and our counselor can guide you. So it makes it easy when everybody's working together.
Awesome. Good communicator. That's important. Okay, we have one last question, and then we're hoping to get any more ideas and feedback from the participants in the room, and we can keep asking questions and taking questions if we want to. But okay, the last question we want to get at how can we scale up the practices that we're doing in the business area to the rest of the campus. And we are doing lots of different things across the campus, but all the pathways and divisions are different. You know, they have different Jennifers, they have different Loris, they have different people, but we are all trying to do something very similar in this kind of improvement, case management, student journey kind of a thing. So if you have suggestions of what you're doing could be done in other areas on the campus, that's what we're trying to get at from you. How could you scale up some of the stuff you're doing so it could be implemented across the campus?
Okay, So my thought is that it's interwoven into the culture that we have here at in this division. Day one, I met everybody. My point personally was everyone I met, faculty, classified, anyone that came in the office, I knew their name and I knew something about them. So that was part of me taking ownership of how I want to be a part of it. I think that that's something that we all share. We all value what we do, and we know collectively we bring value to the student. I think that as long as we are as transparent as we are, we have those opportunities presented to us, as well as being given the opportunity for training. With working with the Guided Pathways team, I've had the opportunity to learn about the veterans assistance. I've had opportunity to learn about DP&S. I've had opportunity to learn about what our BT department is doing. So when I return to campus, I'm planning on going back and learning about what everyone is doing. I just completed the training for the Flex Day webinar for Title V, and they're working on creating a I want to say it's on Canvas about being equity minded, and that, like Lydia mentioned earlier, that goes hand in hand with what we're doing. And I plan on attending that training. So, and being able to do that is something that I think we all can do when we are ready to step into helping students.
I think a good way for any faculty member to get started is to approach it through the lens of a student that knows nothing about anything, that they've never stepped on a college campus, and they don't have anybody to help them. So let's assume a student says they want to major. I'll say computers, but that'll just blow up the whole everybody attending, because if a student comes to me and says, I want to major in computers, well, okay, here at City College, there's about 5 different divisions. Well, 4 different divisions they could go to. There's about, 8, I don't know, I would say 80, but probably realistically about 20 different programs and degrees. So just as I tell my management students with strategy, summary to detail, if they want to major in something, big funnel, and then you start narrowing it down by, well, they can go this way or this way or this way or this way. But if we talk about technology, you need to break those barriers of divisions and departments. And that's kind of hard to do because it's not all butterflies and roses in the business division. We get territorial, and we're trying very hard to work and break that down, because even as we were starting to map out the wording for, I don't even know what we called it, the descriptions for a web page or something, somebody threw a fit because I drafted something and it put everything under an umbrella of management. Because a student says, I want to major in management, doesn't mean the management department or the management program. In their mind, they want to major in management. And then you start breaking down, well, they can go here or here or here. And I think that's very hard for a faculty member, because we're so used to looking at departments and divisions, and you can't do that. So step one is to just map out from a student, I want to major in this, and then just start building a little tree about where they can go with that. And don't get territorial about it, because then you can start pulling in other faculty members and talking about how you can collaborate. Or maybe you offer one class one semester in your area and one class in another area, so that they're rotating with scheduling as well. And that's where your dean comes in, because you've got to be able to justify why you're offering a class when they are, without messing up the students' progress and wanting to complete whatever their goal is. So that's what I would recommend for faculty to do to get started, is to just map it out from the lens of a student. And it's not as easy as it sounds. If you went to any of those pathway programs where Susie gave us those cards and we had to put them in piles because students had a totally different perspective than what we have because we've been in this hairball for so long. We know how to maneuver it. So that's my recommendation.
We're in a hairball. Is that what you said? Hairball.
Panel,
Okay,
there's
thank
a question from Steve Stevens. Do all the SCUD campuses have the Guided Pathways program and work together? And are they all on the same page, or do they have their own separate programs?
I can answer a little bit of that. So Guided Pathways is being embraced across the whole district. And Reedley actually started first. So they're farther ahead than we are with organizing their sequencing maps and their teams and some of they've been looking at redoing their program review. So they were one of the state California pilot schools. And so they've been a good resource to the rest of us. They have different titles for their pathways because they have different programs. They offer different courses at each of the schools. And even Madera is now just coming on board and realizing they're only going to have certain programs that they offer at their school. So they're only going to have certain curricular pathways at their school as well. But we are actually doing training at the district level, and the district has a team for Guided Pathways to try to make sure we are all sort of aligning together and working together. And like Lori was saying earlier, the systems we use are all across the whole district. So students can register anywhere, they can see counselors, they don't usually anywhere. They take courses, they can do things across the campus, so across the district. So we are trying to all get on the same page, but it's not going to look the same at every school. We have different programs, different people, different resources. So it's interesting. It's very interesting to figure out what it looks like at one campus and not the other. But I hope that makes sense, Stephen, if that was your question.
If I may, I just want to add one more comment for faculty getting started. Make use of Carrie Ibarra and Kirsten and Diane DeFreitas, because they also look at your programs from a different perspective. They're not always right. And sometimes you have to be able to justify why you have a program or a class because they don't understand. Like we in the business division, we have certificates of nothing, but for employers, they need those small unit certificates. They require them. And it just didn't make sense in several committees that I was invited to. But they will be more than happy to meet with you, just like we're having these Zoom sessions, and walk you through how to get started. And they're all lovely people to work with, and you won't regret it. And then when it comes time for curriculum or program review, it actually makes it so much easier. And you start having a better understanding of what your students are going through and what resources they need, so that you can back up and look at scheduling recommendations and blah, 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 blah. And we do. We have a wonderful office support team that is always listening to us as well and helping us make those recommendations.
So how can other divisions and pathways get started? I think that my main answer is networking. And so like Jennifer said, our culture in our division has been established. And again, we work with amazing office staff. When I first got into the division, it's like any question I had, Fran would be willing to stop what she was doing and give me the form and explain what was the process. And I just feel like, and the same thing, Lydia, with Jennifer, like anytime I have a question, or Carrie, even virtually from home, we all have Microsoft Teams. And so we use the chat feature. So we're kind of like instant messaging each other. And I can be working with a student and they're having an issue with a class, and I can message Carrie or I can message Jennifer and say, there's this hold on this class. When's this hold going to be removed? How many students do you have on the wait list? If I give you this name, what's the likelihood that this student's going to get in? And they'll respond immediately, and they're always willing to go above and beyond for our students. And so I think that's the main thing, is just if everybody's working towards the goal of helping the student succeed, I think that's the main thing. But it's not all rainbows and butterflies in our division. Like I have definitely offended some faculty and we're still friends, right? Like I don't know if I could say the same thing about other divisions. If I went to another faculty member and said some of the things that I've said to my faculty in my division, they would probably never speak to me again. But because I have these relationships with our faculty, I feel like I can be honest with them and tell them my opinion, and we can talk about it, and I can say, but this is what the student's perspective is, and this is what the student's seen, and this is why I feel the way I do. And then they can tell me why they feel the way that they do, and we can have honest conversations about it. But if we didn't have those relationships established and have that networking, I feel like that makes it impossible. And so for the counselors out there, if you guys are on a pathway, I would really encourage you guys to get to know the office staff, the admin assistants, the admin aides, and the department chairs, the faculty in your division. But really our office staff has been really key in helping to support our students, because most of our students, that's the first place they go. They go into the office, they're like, I need help with this. And then it's like, oh, okay, let me help you find a faculty member. Let me help you find a counselor. And the same thing for me, when I get stuck and I don't know what I'm doing, I go to the office staff and I'm like, why is this happening? Or how can you help me do this? And so I feel like sometimes they're just the unsung heroes, but our faculty, Fran and Carrie and Joyce and Jennifer are amazing. And I feel very comfortable referring students there. I know that they will get their questions answered. They will get a warm handoff. I feel like our faculty and our classified staff are just amazing. And so I think that's one thing that we just need to scale up and just kind of get those relationships formed in all the different pathways across campus.
Did I give you all a chance to answer that if you wanted to? I don't remember. I don't remember if anyone, Tim, did you get to answer that one, Tim?
Well,
Did you want
I was going to see if Jennifer wanted to tackle it, then I was going to
Sure.
jump in, but.
She started off with it. She kicked us off.
Oh, that's right. Short-term memory, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you've heard from the team, and what I look is, if you notice, is everybody was looking, Lydia and Jennifer and Lori, how their smiles were getting bigger, not only in what they were sharing, but when listening to the other teammate. And you're right. It's sometimes it's tough. And Lydia and I've gone through when SB 1440 was first passed. Oh my God! I mean, it was tough. But part of it, and this is easy to say, harder to do. Old mentor of mine taught me the Q-tip principle, and my staff are sick of it because I always throw it out there, which is quit taking it personal. It's so we the first thing to really scale this is in your divisions and stuff, and you have them, build strong internal relationships of trust, so that we're genuinely sharing concerns and we're not attacking the person, we're attacking the position, and when you can really get the talented individuals working together. I'll give you a real practical example. Because we were talking to employers and because faculty were talking to each other, we found out that, like Lori said it earlier, there's a huge need for Excel, and there was a huge need for accounting and bookkeeping. So what happened is a BT faculty created a bookkeeping fundamental certificate of 2 courses. And if you ever wonder why on earth do we have a certificate of 2 courses? Well, then a grant opportunity came, the K through 16 collaborative, that was looking to grow accounting and finance majors. So because faculty were talking together and because we understood programs, we are now offering the bookkeeping fundamentals certificate to 4 high schools, adult education. The grant is paying for cohorts to take these 2 classes and their pathways into potential accounting and finance majors. That could not have happened had we not had interdepartmental discussions of 3 departments. So, I mean, it's know your program. And like Lydia said, yeah, I mean, it's tough. Set some game rules. Hey, everybody leaves smiling, maybe not happy, but our relationships are at least intact.
Thank you. there has been lots of bumps and missteps along the way with all the different initiatives that come in. And I think they're all usually well-intended, but yes, people get hurt sometimes and there's trust issues. And I think that's one of the best things a pathway or division can do is get to know each other, network, have trust, communicate, be friendly whenever you can. So thank you. Okay, I do see a couple questions coming in. We have about 10 more minutes. That's pretty much our questions for the panelists today. And they've pretty much said their piece that they said they wanted to say. We can see if there's anything else they want to add, but there's some questions that are coming in. So I think instead of maybe asking direct questions to the group just yet, unless we get to those, we can maybe address some of the questions. But I was going to go to the one that Brett had, and I don't know if it got addressed already, but in their division, they have departments that are in other pathways. What do you folks, what happens with the business division when you've got some of your departments that aren't in the business pathway? How are you working those bumps along the way?
So that's a great question, Brett. We're figuring it out along with the rest of the campus. And so our paralegal department did get moved into Culture Education Society. Our CIT department is actually under your guys' pathway, which is Tech and Trades. And so this is the first semester that we've had them kind of separated out. And so we took on economics. And so this semester we had our economics faculty attend our meetings, and then they trained our counselors just like Peter had done the previous semester. And now Peter is going into, Culture Education Society and kind of trying to train those counselors. And so we are in the middle of a transition, like of a shift of some of our divisions. And there are some divisions that are in multiple pathways. So like our BT department is in business, Culture Education Society, and also health and STEM. So it is hard, I think, for some faculty when you are in multiple pathways, but I would just say the more relationships that you have, the better. So and then the counselors, we all talk to each other too. So talk to your counselor that's on your pathway. And if they're not able to help you or they aren't able to deal with whatever that situation is, they can refer you. So like if Peter came to me and had a question or something, I could say, let me connect you with Nick, because Nick's the lead pathway counselor for Culture Education Society. And so again, I think it's just, again, communication, and we are on a learning curve. So just we're going to all be figuring that out as a campus and how we're going to move forward.
I would say, just to add, one of the best things about being on a team is you have your relationships, but they're very isolated sometimes, and having us have to talk to now the other divisions and the other counselors. Like, everyone loves Lori, who's in the business division, but there are 100 counselors on this campus, and there's probably another one out there that can help your students beside the one that you get to know. And so just being able to expand the communications across other teams, I guess, or other groups that you've normally worked with has been challenging, but at the same time, I think it's opened up new doors that we didn't have before either. So
well, and if I may, one of the things, and I went to an early meeting with Carrie and others to discuss some of this a few weeks back, and it was just a bit of the confusion because of those kinds of alignments. That we're aligned in a different place doesn't mean we're not part of the business division anymore. It's just because it's a different philosophical view. It's the idea of just helping students understand. I was a major advisor at Fresno Pacific in the business program. So it's helping students understand the best things to do to get where they want to go, versus being in a division and department that is locked into where it logically belongs. And so, and one of the things about law, they put me where the other law is. Part of it is because, as I told Carrie, and she agreed with me, law is one of those kind of disciplines that belongs everywhere and also belongs nowhere. And so it's kind of in and of itself, but it also belongs everywhere else. So it almost doesn't matter. So fine, and that's great. But as long as we understand that, as long as we understand, no, I didn't go anywhere. I had actually colleagues ask me early in the semester, oh, you're not going to be with us in the business division anymore? I said, no, I am. It's just the pathway. So making sure those kinds of things are clear is important. And I think that's something Tim brought up, that we're clear about what we're talking about here. And you know, what this means, not that, oh, we're realigning our, you know, we're reinventing higher education or something. It's that's not what's happening. We're just lining things up for people better so they understand direction much better.
So we have just a few more minutes left. I would love it if any of you want to drop in the chat something that you're doing in your division that you think is a good practice that would benefit any of the other divisions. Anything that you think you could scale up and share with anyone else, you're welcome to speak up if you want, or just drop a little note in the chat that kind of says what you think your area is doing or you're doing in your role that maybe someone else might be interested in learning more about as well. And I think we've done most of the questions. So do you have any, while we're doing that, anyone have any final comments, anything they want to add to the group before we sign off for today? We're going to stick around and we'll answer questions and talk to folks as long as anyone can today. So we're not going to shut you down right at 3:45, but if anyone has any final comments, I wanted to give you folks a chance just to, if there's something we didn't get to address that you wanted to address or anything else you wanted to say. You guys were all real thorough, huh? Thank you. Okay, Kaylon's given us a reminder here. There's going to be a survey for us all to do at the end. And yes, business is a model for how the team can really work well together, even when we're splitting divisions and pathways. So you guys have been great for us today. I do want to just thank the panel. It's great to have 5 people working together who want to talk to each other and work together and then are willing to talk with all the other people and work with each other to make something happen. So thank you all for the panelists coming today. And for our facilitators, do we need to tell them anything else, Kaylon? I don't know if Susie's still there before we sign off.
Nope.
No.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming. We'll hang out for a few minutes, and if anyone has any comments or questions, you can stick around and speak up. And if not, we'll see you all around campus. See you in guided pathways, equity, program review, curriculum review, all those things. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.